Kyle Busch is having one of the worst seasons in his NASCAR career. Can RCR turn around this abysmal season? And if they can't, where can Kyle Busch go in 2026?
High, push it, checker flag, hell yeah!
What's the caution for?
Mate, can I not push it in?
Stop anybody.
Come on, these guys! Way to go, boys! One hell of a job, man, one hell of a job. Thank you so much.
Oh, remember when Kyle Busch used to be good? Man, those were the days. Welcome on into Shifting Gears. I'm Alan Bailey. Yeah, it's not a good situation. What can RCR do? I mean, they're talking about all these grand plans for next year, but what's really on the horizon? And worst case scenario, where can Kyle Busch go after his contract is up over at RCR? We're going to break it all down in this video, but before we do, make sure that you mash that subscribe button so that you do not miss a video, and of course, log on to arnrace.com for the latest motorsports news. ARN, the Motorsports Authority. Yeah, this one's tough because I remember Kyle Busch getting into the Cup Series. I was at his very first win in Fontana of 05, and boy, that was classic Rowdy Burns right there. Rowdy Busch, I should say. And I still think he has a couple more wins in the Cup Series and maybe a championship run in him still, but let's be honest, the RCR experiment is not the best thing that's ever worked out for him. Now, when he left Joe Gibbs Racing, obviously there was a lot of optimism, especially early on. When he won Auto Club, I was at that race as well, and when he went on to win a few more times last season. But let's be honest, once the playoffs started and once that initial, let's just say, Tyler Reddick's notebook ran out, I mean, things started to settle on in for Kyle Busch over at RCR. The cracks started to show, and he didn't have the best playoffs last season and was eliminated ultimately. And then this season is just awful. There's no way around it. 15 races left, and Kyle Busch is nowhere to be found in the playoff grid. Looking at the playoff grid, after finishing 32nd at Pocono, Kyle Busch finds himself 19th in the playoff point standings, 102 points out of the playoffs, with 15 races remaining in the 2024 season. Now, I feel like Pocono was kind of the perfect microcosm of everything that's gone wrong in Kyle Busch's season, let's just say. Because let's really look at his 32nd place finish at Pocono. At one point, he was actually passed under green by speed by Cody Ware. I will say that again. He was passed under green by speed by Cody Ware. That's how you know things are horribly, horribly wrong with Kyle Busch and RCR when Cody Ware in a Rick Ware car is passing him for position on the lead lap, not due to fresher tires, but the exact same pit cycle that Kyle Busch was on. Oh my God. And of course, the pièce de résistance happened to be getting, frankly, run over by Corey LaJoie on lap 121. I mean, come on, really? Like, there's a lot of drama around this. Corey LaJoie's lost his damn mind. No, he's not going to get penalized for this, but saying it was Kyle Busch's fault is just strangely petty out of that organization, and we're going to get into it, but there's a lot of pressure on Corey LaJoie in that 7 car for next year, but let's talk about RCR for a second here. Really looking at it, what can be done over at RCR? Attention to detail across the board. They had an issue during the pre-race where there was an issue with the car. They had to get it back into the garage to fix something and then put it back out there with minutes to spare before the start of this race. These are the little things that are really lacking right now. Andy Petrie was the guy in charge, and clearly that didn't work out, and now they're kind of just flapping in the wind. They don't really have a captain over there leading them, and I know you're going to say, oh, well, you have Richard Childress over there. He's the guy who's leading him. Is he? I mean, really? I mean, come on. Let's be honest here. Being sincere here, when was the last time RCR was competitive? And don't tell me the 90s with Dale Sr., because I already know that. I really mean it. When was the last time that they were a serious championship threat and didn't end up screwing themselves over by being inconsistent and by lacking attention to detail. This organization, originally, way back in the 70s, failed because, let's be honest, Richard Childress was a horrendous driver. He got out of the driver's seat, put Senior in, and then they started winning. The only reason RCR is even an organization that, in my opinion, still exists in 2024 is Dale Sr. And obviously, after the death of Dale Sr. in 2001, you had Kevin Harvick come in there and essentially carry that organization on his back. Once he left, they lost their competitive edge. They put Austin Dillon in the car, and that experiment never worked out. Yes, he has a couple of big, impressive victories to his name. Congratulations to him. He is a good driver, but clearly, even Austin Dillon can't carry this organization. This organization has always existed by its drivers out driving the equipment. And I think it's time that the fans need to recognize that Kyle Busch will never win a championship with RCR, period. So let's say, for whatever reason, and I'm leaning towards this, that RCR can't get it together. They can't figure out what's wrong over there and actually button it up and be professionals. Let's talk about where Kyle Busch truly could go after the 2025 season, after next season. Where does he go for 26 if he chooses not to go back to RCR? And let me be honest, if I'm Kyle Busch, I'm hitting the escape button. I am jumping out of the plane with the parachute. I am women and children to the lifeboats right now because things are horrible over at RCR. Let's talk about where Kyle Busch can go within the Chevy camp for 2026. Firstly, the big one, he wants to go back to Hendrick Motorsports and end his career there. Hands down. That is the best Chevy team in the Cup Series garage right now, the most consistent, the best resources, the best aligned in order to win. And yes, I do think Kyle Busch can get in a Hendrick Motorsports Chevy and have a Mark Martin type season where he's not only winning multiple races, but really making a deep playoff run. Are there any openings? Not really. I know all y'all love to hate on Alex Bowman, and you want him out of that 48 car simply because he's not winning every other damn race, but he did win at Chicago. I do think he is safe over there. He does have a contract that goes up until the end of 2026, so realistically, if Rick Hendrick wanted Kyle Busch in that car, the earliest he could be in the 48 car is 2027, or Rick would have to pay out Bowman's contract, which he could do if he really, really, really wants Kyle Busch in that car. And I have to ask myself, is Alex Bowman or Kyle Busch a better driver at this moment? At this moment, I'm going to say it's Bowman, truly. But that could change. But that's really off the table for 2026, realistically. What other Chevy teams are out there? You have the number 1 car of Trackhouse and Ross Chastain. His contract ends after the 2025 season. So, frankly, this is a tough one because, yeah, Ross has definitely built a home over at Trackhouse. And I don't know if Justin Marks is necessarily going to give up the Watermelon Man. I don't see that happening. I really don't. Maybe the contract situation with Daniel Suarez or whoever goes into that third Trackhouse car in 2025 doesn't work out, and maybe Kyle Busch can get in either the 99 or we're assuming the 91 or the 97, but that doesn't really seem viable. I don't see that happening. The likely candidate, which I truly think is the path for Kyle Busch and the true only hope for Kyle Busch fans, for Kyle Busch to be competitive in 2026, is none other than the number 7 car and Spire Motorsports. Let me be honest here. When Rodney Childress signed to be the crew chief of the number 7 car, that's exactly how it was phrased. It was phrased, Rodney Childress is going to be the crew chief of the number 7 car, not, oh, Rodney's coming over to work with Corey LaJoie, and they're going to work for years to come. It was Rodney's going to be in the 7 car for years to come, multi-year contract. Oh, by the way, Corey LaJoie's in the car next year, but that's a minor detail. It is obvious, and it is very, 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 very evident that Corey LaJoie has not lived up to the expectations in that 7 car. Yes, he built Spire Motorsports. He was like the second employee ever hired over there, but he has not delivered on the racetrack. And frankly, his teammates are starting to deliver on the racetrack. You had the 71 finish second a few weeks ago. You have the 77 of Carson Hocevar, who truly had no expectations coming into the season, but has really jumped those expectations and has had multiple top 10 finishes, where Corey LaJoie Hasn't. He either finishes in the top 10 at a plate track or finishes sub 15th. And now those expectations of Corey LaJoie being a very good driver, building your program around, are starting to look a little sus. And frankly, he's entering his last year on his contract, and Spire more or less is looking at him going, hey bud, one last year, yeah, you better go out there and deliver, and if you don't, yeah, out. And yeah, if I'm Spire Motorsports, I want Kyle Busch in my car. Spire has a relationship with Kyle Busch already, and it truly wouldn't surprise me if Kyle Busch has already had conversations with Spire Motorsports about the potential of jumping into a Cup car one day. Legally, Kyle cannot talk to any other owners right now, but prove it. Simply put, if I'm RCR, prove it. You can't. And I'm willing to bet those conversations have already happened, and I'm willing to bet Kyle Busch will be in the 7 car in 2026 if I had to put money on it right now. Spire Motorsports is definitely building something right now. You hire Rodney Childress, who's known for being a guy who's outperforming his equipment and building championship-winning organizations around him. And on top of that, you also have a new driver coming over with Michael McDowell into the 71, again, also known for outdriving his equipment and building a championship contending team around him. I hope to see Kyle Busch and RCR in victory lane multiple times this year. I just don't see it. I'm being a realist here. They can certainly turn their season around, but I highly doubt it. But I want to hear from you. Let me know in the comments down below, where do you think Kyle Busch will end up after his RCR contract is up in 2025? Will he return to RCR in 26 or go to Trackhouse, Hendrick Motorsports, Spire, or somewhere else? Let me know in the comments down below. And while you're there, make sure that you mash that subscribe button so that you do not miss a video. And of course, log on to arnrace.com for the latest motorsports news. ARN, the Motorsports Authority. I want to thank you so much for watching. For Shifting Gears, I'm Alan Bailey. We'll see you at the track.